The national security law in Hong Kong has gone into effect on the 23rd anniversary of the region's return to Chinese rule. My exclusive interview with Maria Tam Wai-Chu, Deputy Director of the Basic Law Committee of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress. And the United States is noticeably absent on the EU's list of countries cleared for inbound travel. Is this a public health precaution or political tit-for-tat? Welcome to The Point, an opinion show coming to you live from Beijing. I'm Li Xin. China on Tuesday passed the law safeguarding national security in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, which took effect 1 hour before the 23rd anniversary of the city's return to Chinese rule. The law targets 4 offences, namely secession, subversion, terrorist activities and collusion with foreign forces to endanger national security. Now, Chief Executive Carrie Lam of the Hong Kong SAR has described the new law as a historic step taken by the Central People's Government to safeguard national security in Hong Kong. So what are the details of the law now that the text has been made public? I'm pleased to be joined from Hong Kong by Maria Tam Wai-Chu, Deputy Director of the Basic Law Committee under the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress. Maria, thank you very much for joining us. Now, the law, as we can see...
Thanks for having me.
The law, as we can see, includes 6 chapters and 66 articles. 4 crimes, different punishment for each crime, and very detailed overall. How would you describe overall the text of this new law? Is this something that the Hong Kong system will be able to apply immediately?
I should think some of it yes and some of it no. The law itself has 4 different purposes. First of all, a lot of people know ever since June last year, Hong Kong has been subjected to violent attacks of innocent bystanders in the street, people waving foreign country flags, and also there are, as far as we can see, terrorist activities. There's over 10,000 Molotov cocktails being fired or thrown. There were 7 guns seized, and there's 2.6 tons of chemical compound seized, which is capable of making bombs. And we have the Chinese University and the Hong Kong Polytechnic University being sieged, and in it there's all sorts of terrorist activities going on. And there is a cry for independence or liberation of Hong Kong amongst our young people. There were 8,000 arrests, 40% of which are young people under the age of 18. So it's come to the point that we have the choice of either having our national security law to safeguard the law and order of Hong Kong, or let our economy and our livelihood and our normal happy city go to ruin. So we've chosen the first route, and the central government has enacted the law which will be able to help us to take action against most of the things that I had described.
Well, that's the intention, at least. We'll have to see how it plays out. And yet, as I said, whether this law will be immediately applicable or enforceable, let's say, in Hong Kong, you say some of it yes, some of it not. What, for instance, are some of the articles or some of the provisions that will have difficulties to be enforced at this moment?
Well, the easiest one is on anti-terrorist activities. The more difficult ones will be on secession or on subversion. There is evidence there, and there are actions there, and also force being employed, and there are arrests to that extent. But as far as actually proving the case is concerned, we are going through the evidence, and right at this moment, nobody will be charged for retrospective responsibility. The whole idea is to let bygones be bygone, and everybody look forward and keep to this law so that we can all start afresh in Hong Kong.
Of course, this is a new law, a new chapter in the history of Hong Kong,
yes.
also for China as well. So some levels of difficulties can be expected. But as you said, we're not going to trace back activities or acts that were carried out in the past, and
no.
yet, hypothetically, under the new legislation, for instance, some of the activities that were carried out or acts that were carried out by people in Hong Kong over the past, since the second half of last year, would become punishable by law, potentially, although the law also pledges to protect freedoms applicable to Hong Kong under basic law, the basic law and international conventions. So could you give us some examples? What kind of activities that we saw since end of last year, since second half of last year, would have been subject to this law, and what activities would not? Just now you mentioned all the Molotov cocktails, the chemical compounds, the gun seized. Of course, these are more easy. But for instance, when people were carrying a foreign flag, or when people were shouting slogans advocating Hong Kong independence, how would these activities fall in under this new law?
It depends on the evidence against the individual. If it's only a matter of carrying a flag, then he may give a story which could be believed by the judges, such as, I picked it up at a corner, I'm curious, something like that. But if there should be evidence which shows that he was acting in concert with others, and there were plans beforehand as to where they should be going and what they should be doing, whether anybody's carrying weapons, anybody's going to attack the police station, if all those things add together, it becomes a concerted effort to not only to disrupt law and order, but to make it impossible for the Hong Kong government to carry out its responsibilities. Then we may have a case of independence or secession. When it comes to secession, the problem with Hong Kong is that we have people here, young people here, who goes to Taiwan and goes to Europe, and at times they attend conferences and training sessions with independent members, with members who believe in the independence of, say, Tibet or Taiwan or Xinjiang, and they come back and start spreading the idea. So that could be the beginning of a case of secession. It's all a matter of evidence and how deep they are involved and how far we are able to get evidence against them. But as I said, if they stop everything now and just make use of their votes or whatever ways that we have that's already there for democratic changes, then there would not be an offense committed by them.
Let's talk about the provisions set out to protect human rights in Hong Kong. For instance, Article 4 says human rights shall be respected and protected in safeguarding national security. The rights and freedoms, including the freedoms of speech, of the press, of publication, of association, of assembly, of procession, and of demonstration, which the residents of the region enjoy under the basic law, and the provisions of the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenant on Economic, Socio and Cultural Rights as applied to Hong Kong shall be protected in accordance with the law. Why this paragraph, Maria?
Well, this is important to let people know that in spite of the fact that we have new offenses being ready for enforcement, whoever is being charged will enjoy the right enshrined under those two United Nations conventions as they were applicable before the colonial days, which means that the judges will try and strike a balance between the rights enjoyed by anybody who wish to have freedom of expression, of congregation, of belief and everything, with the necessity to safeguard national security and public interest and public order. And the test is actually a common law test. the judges will see whether the restrictions being imposed is in line with the purpose of safeguarding the three things that I talked about, and whether it is in proportion. It is proportional to the damage that such breach of law could be caused, and if the judges believe that the restrictions are proportionate to the need to maintain public order or national security, then the judge will allow such restriction. And this is the common law test of whether you can restrict rights of freedom, and we are using that in Hong Kong, and we continue to do so.
Yeah, well, some people would say, especially on the first day when the law has come into effect, that there have been quite a number of arrests of protesters who have gone on the streets. Some people would say you just pledged to protect people's rights of assembly, of demonstration, and yet you're making these arrests. And immediately there was one person who was arrested under the new national security law. So what kind of human rights protection are you talking about?
Well, this person who's been arrested, according to the reports under the law, I still think when it's taken to the police station, and if a statement's taken from him, we still have to find out why he's carrying such a flag. The fact that he is being arrested is nowhere near to his being prosecuted. Much depends on the evidence, and as far as I can see, there are plenty of explanation one can think of on the way to the police station.
Okay, indeed, this is something new, and there we were seeing images of Hong Kong police raising up a sign with warnings that people could be arrested or prosecuted for violating the new national security law. Indeed, this is something new for everybody. I also want to touch upon another part of the text, which is under Article 5, the principle of the rule of law, which says, shall be adhered to in preventing, suppressing and imposing punishment for offences endangering national security. It says, no one shall be convicted and punished for an act which does not constitute an offence under the law, and a person is presumed innocent until convicted by a judicial body. What's the message being sent here, and why is it important to highlight a paragraph like this?
That means the common law protection to a suspect in a criminal trial or criminal proceeding is still fully protected under this new law, that you're presumed innocent until proved guilty, that you cannot be tried twice for the same offense, you know, no double jeopardy, and you are entitled to legal assistance from the point of arrest or from the point of caution, and that you have the right to remain silent, and your guilt would have to be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. All those protections that we now give to the suspects of a criminal trial will maintain and will continue to work.
Maria, what gives you the confidence and the belief that this Hong Kong version of the national security law vis-a-vis the national security law that's already in place on the mainland is a perfect demonstration of the one country, two systems policy? I mean, what are the biggest differences that makes this law a demonstration of one country, two systems, or effectively it blurs the line between the two systems?
Well, everywhere in the world, every country enacting of the law and the implementation and the execution of the law plus the trial are being done in the capital and never in a local court. Whereas in Hong Kong, in spite of the fact that the central government has all the rights and authority to, from the point of investigation to the point of arrest and trial, do everything under Chinese law and do it in Beijing, the law has actually given the largest part of all these cases to be tried in Hong Kong and protected under the common law system that I had explained in the last two answers to you. And this signifies that we are still practicing one country and two systems. If you look at Catalonia, the autonomous region had passed in its parliament the decision to be independent. All the persons involved were taken to Madrid and tried in Madrid. Well, in Hong Kong, we have given the largest part of the cases to be heard and tried in Hong Kong under the common law system, and we retain only 3 classes, and that is where it involves foreign countries or foreign or places outside of Hong Kong, by which we mean Taiwan, Xinjiang, and Tibetan independence, and cases where the Hong Kong government is unable to handle, or that the security of Hong Kong is under serious threat, and the case has to be tried in Beijing.
All right.
Only 3 cases, 3 types.
Okay. Well, it's such a complicated matter. It will take more discussion for people to help people understand the law. And of course, Maria Tam, coming from your perspective as Deputy Director of the Basic Law Committee under the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress. Many thanks, Maria, for your insight and your time.